Hi, everybody. My name is Sean Healy, and my company is Dragon Koi Coaching. I wanted to talk to you today about something called Moment of Truth. This is something that I talk to lots of business owners about. I teach it in courses that I teach, and it's really what we would look at to be these moments in time that can be positive, negative, or neutral that you have thousands of every day. And the question really is, okay, why are these things important? From a business perspective, I think it's really important to look at these things because they're going to have an effect on customer service, on client retention, or customer retention, depending on what your business is. Let's just take an example. I'll tell you a little story. It's been probably 15, 20 years ago, probably. I went to a restaurant. Me and my wife went to this restaurant. I had a very long day. I had gone to work at about 6 that morning. I worked all day with clients, and right when I got off work, we went to this play at this local company. And so by the time we got to the restaurant, it was probably about 9:30-ish, right? Now this particular restaurant, it wasn't one of my favorites necessarily, and this is why. When this restaurant had tile floors and wood chairs. It was a nice restaurant, had nice food. I mean, there was nothing wrong with it per se. But every time somebody moved their chair, it would make this screeching noise. And it was the acoustics in the area were really echoey. And so when people were talking, it just was really loud, right? So for me, that had a negative effect on it, right? I had talked to lots of people about it, and I guess lots of people. And a lot of people, I love that. It reminds me of New York. It reminds me of X, Y, and Z. So it was something that was positive for them. So one thing isn't necessarily always positive or always negative. It can be either. So anyway, we go to this restaurant. I go in. I'm starving. I hadn't eaten all day long. I hadn't had a chance to eat. So I go in, we sit down, the hostess or the waitress comes up and starts to help us, and she's looking down at her pad that she's going to write her information on our order on, and she says, "How can I help you?" Didn't look up at us. And so I said, "Well, I'd like to have a Caesar salad, but if it's possible, I'd like to get some chicken breast or something cut up on it." And knowing that it was late, it was possible that the kitchen wasn't open, and I thought I'd ask. And she doesn't look up, she says, "Not possible." So I said, "Well, not possible, like you're not going to try, or not possible, like there's no possible, what does not possible mean?" She's like, not possible. And I didn't go back to that restaurant for about 12 or 13 years. And it was just because of that experience. So for me, there was we can all look at that and go, okay, it was bad customer service. She could have walked around the corner, stood behind the wall for 30 seconds, come back and said, "I'm sorry, we just cleaned up the kitchen and they're not cooking anything anymore." Would have been fine. I would have got it, no big deal. But for me, it was this massively negative moment of truth. And when we look at these positive, negative, and neutral moments of truth, a negative moment of truth will take approximately 12 positive to come back from that negative to get to ground zero again. So when we're looking at our companies, when we're looking at our the experience of our customer, are you looking at your moments of truth generally speaking, and what is the contact points of that person as they come into your business? For example, when we're looking at marketing, when we're looking at our social media posts, when we're looking at the font that we use in our ads, all of that plays a role in moments of truth. Now, a lot of what we do probably is going to be kind of neutral. It's not going to be this, huge deal. But, if I walk in and, for example, I see your ads, you look like you're a great company. I see your social media posts, you look like you're really fun. And you know what you're doing. I look on your website and I see that you're organized and it's easy to navigate. Think about that from a website perspective for a second. We've all gone on websites that are really hard to get to. right? They're hard to get around and find the information that you're looking for. That becomes a negative moment of truth. And so really we have 12 positives that we have to make up for that negative that this person's feeling, because they've gotten to the point where they're interested and invested, and they're going to the website to look and they can't find the information that they want. And it's frustrating, right? Same thing for me, and this is just, again, talking from my perspective. When I go to a website, I want to see faces. I want to, if it's, say, for example, a Pilates studio or a personal training or studio or a physical therapy clinic or anything else, I want to become associated with the people that are going to be working with me and treating me. And so if I go to a website and there's no identity on the website about who I'm going to come in contact with, particularly in a service industry, where they're working with my body, I kind of lose interest with it. So for me, that's a negative. For other people, it may be, look, I just need to know prices. Another thing, I mean, we've had conversations about, do you put prices on your website? I think that you can go both ways. I mean, it depends on your position. Does that create a negative moment of truth if I can't find prices? Or is it something that's not a big deal and it's like, okay, I need information first and then I'll call and get prices? Does it irritate you if you then call in to get prices and the goal is to not give out prices and get people to come in from that perspective, right? So, which is a tactic in terms of getting people to come in. We want people to walk in the door to experience what it is that we're offering. You get a totally different perspective if you do it that way. So, the reality of what is positive and what is negative is sort of relative, but I think that when we're looking at this, we need to look at how we approach all aspects of touch, if you will, with our customers, and understand the fact that if our customer has a negative experience from their perspective, which is the tough part, it may take a lot to get them back to ground zero, and it also may make the difference in them coming in or not. So I would encourage all of you to look at what are your touch points with your customer. What is the potential for negative moments of truth? And how are you creating a series of positive, part of this is through exposure and kind of what you're doing with marketing and advertising and the before you get to talk to them exposure, right? Make sure that feels good along the way. And then what are your systems once you get to talk to people? Once they call, once they come in the door, how are you making sure that you don't create a negative situation for that person in their mind and drop them down? The more positive you can have, you're building up essentially this moments of truth bank account, right? So if I have 100 touch points and 100 positive moments of truth, if somebody has a negative one, it's not as big of a deal, right? It doesn't drop down quite so far. We don't have to work so hard to get back. If the first 3 things that happen to a potential customer are in their mind negative or just don't sit right, they're going to lose interest really fast. So I would encourage you to look at all of your touch points that you have with potential customers and look at what you can do to create a positive experience for them, even without you saying or doing anything. It's how you're presenting things. And then look at your touch points once you do have contact with them and be able to create a situation where they're being taken care of and that there's going to have this positive experience. Going back to the restaurant story, I didn't go back forever, and I really didn't have any desire to, because they did nothing really to cause me to go, maybe I'll give them another try. Eventually I did. It was okay. I mean, there was a lot of restaurants to choose from, so it wasn't like I needed to go back. When there's a lot of competition, you got to compete. You gotta make sure you're looking at all these things. Business is business, and we need customers that are going to pay us money. And so we have to get into their minds and start to look at what causes them to have positive, negative, or neutral feelings in their system that is going to cause them then to consciously create an opinion. So again, just a little bit of a tidbit on something that's relatively, I say relatively easy to look at, but when you start looking at all of your literature, brochures, websites, social media, systems, processes, training in your facilities for employees if you have them, it becomes a little bit of a bigger project, But start with the first front end touch point things, right? Start with your social media, start with your website, start with any advertising. Make sure from an advertising perspective and a marketing perspective that you have consistency with fonts and colors and branding. So branding is really important when it comes to these positive moments of truth, because those are the things that unconsciously affect decision making for our customers, at least in the beginning. So anyway, I hope it helped. If you have questions, again, always email me. My email is Shawn, SHAWN, at dragonkoicoaching.com. I look forward to helping you guys if it's of interest, and go out and have an awesome day. Sunny here in Sedona. Finally, it was cold and rainy yesterday. We're back to normal now. But I look forward to connecting with you guys, and hopefully I can give you some direction and insight and help and at least ideas of what you can apply to your company. Go get them. Have a great day.